Hold on.
What's up, everybody? Sports Counterpoints podcast. We're back. It is April 27, 2022. I almost said October again. I don't know why. Brian, Coop, what's up, guys? We back at it. What's happening?
What's going on?
Hey, what's up, Phil? How you
Man,
doing?
chilling. I'm just trying to get this Elon Musk money, man. Y'all just laid it out. This guy could buy every sports team out and still have money left over. And I am budgeting hats. So for sports teams. So that's pretty amazing. Wow. Shout out. That's crazy. But yeah, so today's show, we're going to be talking about the NBA playoffs. Warriors just ended their game right now and just advanced. We'll talk about Naasir Cunningham, the young man who's coming from high school to play pro ball without pay to keep his eligibility and kind of working and twerking the system, which is dope. Do a little bit of NC2A talk after that if we have some time. Then, of course, NFL draft is tomorrow. So we'll do a little bit of discussion around that. So starting with the playoffs, man, what are y'all thinking?
Wait, before you do that, I'm gonna make everyone feel a little bit worse. You and I are closer to being worth $100 billion than Elon Musk is.
Oh, that makes me feel good. Wait.
No.
He's worth 264 billion. So we're closer to being worth 100. Right.
He's 164 billion away from being worth 100 million.
Oh, that math ain't mathing. I see what you're saying.
Right.
So you're saying there's a chance for me? That's what you're saying?
Well, number two is only worth 177, right? So that's a big drop off. It's $100 billion between 1 and 2, practically.
Nah, I think God knew I couldn't have that kind of money because this number 2, I'd be with your broke ass, man. You 2 jets. It's poor in here, but anyways, jokingly, you know what I mean? Shout out to everybody who doesn't have money like the rest of us. So NBA playoffs, man. Elon Musk could buy every team apparently while they're in the playoffs. But yeah, it's been an interesting playoff cycle, man. I've really enjoyed it actually so far. I mean, I kind of want to start with the Nets, man. Woo! That's crazy. I know it's the biggest one, but they up out of here, man. They fishing. Like what?
Man, let me tell you, the only people laughing harder than me about the Nets is the Golden State Warriors, man. It's I don't know about y'all, but watching this series, I knew it was over the middle of game 3 in the second quarter. Boston just has the better coach. Well, he has more experience being a coach, I would say, because he was on a bench. Nash just kind of popped up. Boston obviously is a deeper team. They're a better team. They're able to get stops in crucial moments. Brooklyn just has lapses in crucial situations of games, just trying to get stops. And what's also obvious is early to me was that they work too hard to get shots. I mean, just entirely too hard, where Boston is pretty much getting whatever they want. Durant, Kyrie wasn't a big fan of Durant leaving. He left a coach who held his players accountable in Steve Kerr, whereas Steve Nash just
he's
just
there. Yeah, he's trying to figure it out.
He left of the most, I would say, selfless, accommodating superstar. I mean, we've seen in a while, maybe since Magic Johnson and Steph Curry. He was coming off the bench in a lot of time in these Denver games. I mean, he was willing to step aside, and Kevin Durant was the best player on the best team in the league. He left a great supporting cast with Klay Thompson. And yeah, you got to deal with Draymond, but you got to take the good with the bad. And he left all that, you know what I'm saying, to be with somebody who, doesn't believe in vaccinations. The world is flat. If you listen to his interviews, he's talking about him and KD and the GM are going to manage the franchise together. They don't need a coach. They'll coach by committee. I mean, Kyrie thinks he's the coach, the GM, the player. He wants to do everything. He wants to play. We'll have all the hats. I mean, he left Steph Curry for this guy. If Kyrie wasn't a great basketball player, we would all think he's a fool. But he's a great basketball player. So
he is a fool.
Don't ask Brian. Yeah, I was going to say.
So it's like, the stuff he says, it's ridiculous, But, I've never seen a dynasty without a great coach. It just doesn't happen in any sport, football or basketball, in my opinion. And according to Kyrie, the coach really isn't important. But the main part, I don't never see KD being the leader. He's not a leader. That's not his nature. He's a great basketball player, but his nature is not to lead. Neither is Kyrie. I don't think anybody will follow Kyrie. So I don't see them winning a title together. I never see it. That's not KD's personality, and that's not Kyrie's personality. Kyrie is into him and the foolish stuff he says. And KD, to be a leader, I mean, we've all seen it being Laker fans with Magic holding people accountable, Kobe holding people accountable. You have to be confrontational. KD is not like that. He won't confront Kyrie. He wouldn't confront Westbrook. He asked management to do it, and he wouldn't confront Draymond Green. He still hasn't confronted Draymond Green with all the stuff that he said. So he's not that confrontational type of person. So he's not an effective leader. He can't lead a team to a title. Um, he could be the best player on the team like he was with the Warriors. He was the best player, but he can't be the leader. Curry was the leader of that team. KD needs players who are reliable. Kyrie isn't reliable. He needs structure. He needs a real coach. He doesn't have that in Brooklyn, which is why I don't see that whole thing, working out. And then he has to deal with Ben Simmons. I didn't know Ben Simmons still had 3 years and $114 million left on that contract.
Man.
And this is a guy who's been coddled his entire career. There's always an excuse. It was the mental thing. And they said he was over it. It's a physical thing. And now people are calling him out. So now it's back to being a mental thing. It's like this guy, like I said, he just doesn't want to play basketball. He just wants to get paid, be a star, but not actually be
me
a star.
too.
And yeah, you ain't lying about that.
What?
And lastly, Brian, before I let you go about this, I've said this to you guys. I've said to many people, the NBA is not about getting a star. It's about getting the right star. And Brooklyn has the wrong stars on their team to try to build and win an NBA championship. The whole Kyrie KD thing, I don't buy and I don't believe it's going to work. B, what you think about it?
You said a lot.
I did.
I
did. Yeah, I just had thoughts.
But what I'll say is this: you and I called this 2 years ago when KD and Kyrie got together in Brooklyn. We said there's no chance that is going to work out for a lot of the same reasons that you said, and KD's just inability to be a leader of the team. He can be the best player on the team, but he can't ever be a leader. Right. Kyrie's no kind of leader, but he wants to be a leader, and he's the one that wants to overtake the shine of KD. That doesn't work. And then they added Harden, and we both said there's no team ever that will win with Harden and Kyrie, or either one of them. And then they got rid of it for Ben Simmons, which was a complete and utter joke, and has been then and before. This whole situation's been a mess. We also called this series at the beginning of it, although I think we both said Brooklyn would scrape together a game or two, but Boston was going to win. At least I know I said that.
No, you said that. Yeah, I had Brooklyn. Yep.
Okay, I had Boston, and I said that Brooklyn would scrape together a game or two.
Right.
And it was for these very reasons. You cannot become a playoff team in the playoffs. You've got to become a playoff team during the regular season, whether that's at the end of it or whatever, and they go into the playoffs. You could come together at some point, but they never came together. And they, the whole Kyrie mess. You said plenty. I'll leave everybody with that because I agree with everything that you said. They don't deserve the hype. They get the hype because KD has won championships. And Kyrie has a championship with LeBron, but it's not because they've established that great talents are coming together, or proven that they can do that on their own, because they've both failed every time that they've tried to do it by themselves. Yeah. Anyways, moving on. Let's talk about Milwaukee, Chicago in that same kind of bracket, I guess.
Go ahead. Yeah, take it.
So this also kind of went the way that we both saw it, because I remember you picked Milwaukee right off the bat, but I said, oh, Chicago's. I really like the Chicago team, and then I said, oh, wait a minute, they're playing Milwaukee. It's a wrap. And I still really like the Chicago team. I think that this is just a young team that's trying to get to that next place, and they'll get there. And they are truly a team. Depending on the game, it was Vucevic. I know I said his name wrong. Levine that was leading the team at one point in time, and then obviously DeMar DeRozan. They don't have a clear number one, and they have other talented players that are going to come back next season that were injured in Ball, and I think that this team can be a competitor. I don't know if I see them winning a championship right now, but obviously they weren't going to be able to hang with a truly great defensive team and ultimately a better and more talented offensive team at this point in time in Milwaukee. So I think this was pretty clear. Good luck to Chicago in the future. I think that they do have a future. I'm reasonably certain that you're going to try and put a little bit of this on DeMar DeRozan.
No.
But I don't. But I don't think this had anything to do with DeMar DeRozan, the individual player. One interesting stat that I will give you, he was 0 for the series from the 3-point line.
DeRozan?
Yeah. Even when he scored 41, he was 0 for the series. Playoff, you don't have to be good at threes, and you don't have to shoot a whole bunch of threes, but you have to be able to make a three in order to keep teams honest so that they don't drop down and fill the lane when Zach LaVine and DeMar DeRozan are trying to get to the rim. So they're going to have to. He needs to go call lethal shooter or whatever. He's got to do something, because when you have a team where you have Caruso and you have Ball and you have LaVine and you have DeRozan and all of them make their living going to the rack, you have to get the defense's respect by being able to threaten a three. Just like Jason Kidd, perfect example. He could not shoot the three early on, but when he started threatening for championships and became the better player, it wasn't that he took a whole lot of them. It was that he could possibly make them when he took them.
Yeah. And that leads into the player prop I took today. DeMar DeRozan under 29.5 points. Everybody was saying LaVine is out, Caruso's hobbled, he's going to have to score 30. I said, nope, that's going to make his life a lot harder because he does not shoot threes, like you mentioned. If you can get to 30 if you shoot and make threes. He doesn't. That's not his forte. And he didn't really have a game where he showed up. But like I said, I like DeRozan in the regular season. You kind of don't want him to be a number one in the playoffs or a number two. You've seen
41 points
that
in one game, though.
Yeah, 41. Yeah. I think that was game one or whatever. But then I think they kind of clamped. Game two. Yeah, they kind of clamped. And but yeah, I'm not dogging the Chicago Bulls. I mean, they're a young team. They should be competitive in the East for the next few years with the roster that they have. And they ran into the defending champions. I mean, the Chicago was a tough out. They weren't an easy out. They were a tough out. And Milwaukee actually had to play some real defense and be serious to actually beat them. So I'm not dogging the Bulls for that. Milwaukee moves on and they play against the Boston Celtics in the next round, which without Chris Middleton, you got to think Boston is the favorite. But I guess we could talk about that later. Yeah, so I'll move on if it's cool to the Miami Heat Atlanta series. So I was pretty much bored watching this series. The Hawks, Trey Young might need to get stronger, might need to hit the weight room, might want to concentrate on going to the basket, shooting some closer shots at times. I don't know. Atlanta, just barely got into the playoffs. Miami's overall just a much better team, the much grittier team. I don't think Miami's overly talented, though. I think Boston's more talented than Miami, but Miami just is more physical and they're the tougher, grittier team. And
they're the better team in this series.
Yeah, I mean, in that game that they lost, I mean, they kind of mailed that. For Tyler Hero actually blew that game. He's a guy I really don't like that, but he actually blew that game with some really poor decisions in the clutch. And they made sure that didn't happen again in the subsequent games. But not much to say in this series. Miami's the better team. They won, like we predicted. What about you, B?
I'm not a Trae Young fan. I've been pretty clear on that. Of those superstar guys, right? I'm a Donovan Mitchell guy. And Trae Young epitomizes the one rule for Brian when it comes to how you build a team: no ball dominant point guard. And that's Trae Young. And the guy obviously is super talented and can put a whole bunch of numbers, and it's exciting to watch because he'll chuck it from half court every once in a while, whether he's going to make it or not. But that doesn't get you to win. And I told you, I think we both agreed on this one. Miami was going to mop the floor with them. And you said it was boring. The fact that they got a game, I think we both said that they would get at least a game, just because I almost never predict a sweep, just because pride and talent in the NBA is such that these teams will find a way to win one game. But there was never, ever an idea that was going to percolate up that, Atlanta was going to win or even challenge. And here's the thing: Chicago, Milwaukee, same outcome, 4-1. And yet both of us agree that Chicago challenged and played tough against Milwaukee. And I think both of us agree that same result for Miami and Atlanta, that Atlanta never challenged or looked like that they were going to threaten Miami to get to the next round.
True. Yep. So what's your thoughts on Philly and Toronto? Because Philly was up 3-0 and that was 3-2. So
who's Philly's coach right now?
That's Doc Rivers.
Rivers.
His record in closeout games, man, is not good.
It's awful.
Shout out to Doc. Hey, don't do that, bro. Don't do that. God bless Doc, man. His legacy, but I don't want him on the Lakers.
I agree with you with all that.
Cool.
So look, I don't like the Philly team. I think Embiid is outstanding and probably should have won, in the conversation for MVP of the year. And Toronto just doesn't have enough to do anything. But I think we both said when we were talking about this game, like this is the least interesting series because no matter who wins the series, they're losing in the next round. And I think that they've proven that. And so, look, I still think Philly finds a way to win. I mean, when you get, 4 opportunities to win one game, you're bound to find a way to do it the same way that you're bound a way to find.
Still got Doc.
What's that?
They still got Doc, man. I haven't seen him do it.
Well, yeah, Golden State has done the same thing, but it's happened like twice in NBA history. And so there's a reality there that time's going to run out on Toronto. And that's, no knock. Toronto's just not ready. They're in the playoffs because they're in the East. And that's all there is to that one. Go ahead, Jason.
So I think you guys can tell which series I watched the most because I had the most to say about it, Boston and Brooklyn. This is the series I watched the least, Toronto and Philly. But my only thing I'm going to say about this series is one thing that's painfully obvious. Well, I wouldn't say painfully, but just obvious. James Harden is not the same player he was 2 years ago. He can't get past people anymore. He's just a player on the court. He's only shooting 42% in the playoffs and 37.9% from three. He's only averaging 18 points a game.
That's because he sits next to me at the buffets. I'm always
I think now, granted, he rarely misses as much as he parties and likes to be out, in that scene, that nightlife, whatever. He hasn't really missed too many games in his career. But I think that, wear and tear is not wear and tear, but I think those long nights are starting to catch up now because he's just not looking like the same guy. So I'm
wearing bibs and tearing ribs.
That's exactly right.
No, he's known for closing clubs down. I mean, that's what he does. He closes.
And you know what you do after you close the club down?
Yeah, you're dang right.
You find that Perkins.
Right.
You find the Perkins. You find
the
Biddies, whatever it is.
Man, so a part of me hopes Toronto. That point spread for next game, I think, is only 1.5 points. So a part of me hopes that Toronto wins just so it goes 3-3. But I'm gonna tell you something. If Doc loses a 3-0 series lead, I don't think you want to do a podcast. I might be unbearable as much as I talk about it. I'm just saying.
This gonna be a full hour.
Man. So we're gonna see what happens.
Sending directly to Rob Pelinka, like, bruh, and Jeannie, like, don't you guys dare.
Right.
I like Doc, bro. Like, I respect what he did in the league, the Hawks, all that. I got, it's not all this, and anybody listening, this is sports related. It's not about downplaying other men, black men, whatever that, women, none of it. Sports related. But I do not want him coaching my team, bro. I've seen his teams disintegrate too much. Some of that's going to the coach. I don't care, bro.
Man, yeah. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, I ain't got much to say about this series, except what I've seen from James Harden. So moving on to we've covered that. So moving on to the Western Conference. Let's start with your boy Ingram, man, and the Pelicans with against Phoenix, man. Ingram is putting up numbers. So I will say that.
I wish he was on a team of mine, but there's no way we could have had him.
Well, I'll talk about that later. But go ahead, B. What you say?
If only, right? All right. So I still think Phoenix is going to win this, but I told you I think the Pelicans are a good team that are going to be scrappy, and we talked about this last week. We were talking about better by not having Zion than they are if he were there. They're scrappy. I don't think that they're good enough. I think Chris Paul, even with what's his name, Jose Alvarado, basically living in his backside at this point in time. But even with all of that, I think that Phoenix finds a way to get out of this round, and Booker gets healthy and they get right, at some point in time down to getting forward. But I love it. I mean, if this game got to a game 7, I would absolutely give the Pelicans a punching chance. And the reason why we would give them a punching chance is Ingram is really good, and he has shown the ability to turn it up to another level in the fourth quarter. As a matter of fact, Jason, not to call you out or be mean, but you
go ahead.
Gave him a little bit of crap for the first 3 quarters of that game that they ultimately won.
I did. And I got a reason for that, and I will let you go. But go ahead, you go first. Yeah. Go ahead.
And as soon as the comeback started and Ingram started getting hot, you stopped looking at my text messages for about 15 minutes.
Oh, you hella money. Funny. Okay, go ahead.
But
You're good.
anyways, but no, Jason, take it. I mean, like I said, I like this Pelicans team. I especially like Ingram. I think they got and McCollum is great too. And I think they actually make a pretty complimentary
Yeah.
pairing there. And if they get rid of Zion and get some other players to get in there and with the mix, they could be really good down the line. But I don't think that they have enough right now, even though Phoenix is injured. And the only reason we're talking about this is because Phoenix is injured. But if they get to a game 7, they absolutely have a puncher's chance of taking this series from a banged up Phoenix team right now. Go ahead, Jason.
Okay, now I don't think Brandon Ingram is really good, but he's good. He's balling. I give him that. Now the only reason I give him a chance is because Booker is out. If Booker was in, I think the series be done in 5. But you got to give him a chance. Game 7, I'm with you. I think New Orleans has just as good a chance to win that game as Phoenix does. In Game 7, you never know what might happen or who might be off. But like I like actually watching, to be perfectly honest with you, I like watching Ingram and McCollum play. They play off each other really, really well. When Brandon Ingram was on the Lakers, it was a little clunky. It seemed like he really couldn't get a fluid. It just didn't seem right. It seemed flunky. But with New Orleans,
he's been 3 seasons, right? He's developed.
So, yeah. I mean, right. He's more developed too. So yeah, I would say that. Now, I did give you crap about it, but I kind of went back on that, Brian. The reason why I think he probably played bad that first game is because a lot of the teams that had played in that play-in game, like Atlanta, I think they came out bad in game 1. So I think that play-in game probably had an effect. So I'll probably have to take that back about Ingram. I think they were probably just tired with all that emotion and stress and everything, trying to get into the playoffs. But the Pelicans, it's actually a kind of a fun series. It's competitive. It's not it's not bad. Like I said, I like the McCollum edition. I think was really what really helped that team out a lot. And you kind of don't want to really see Zion on this team because I think it will kind of mess up the chemistry that this team has. And I definitely don't think they would have won 2 games in this series had Zion been on the roster. So now at the end of the day, Brandon Ingram is going to go out like all the rest of the ex-Lakers in the first round, like Jordan Clarkson and I forgot the other guy named Brett Dexter Russell, whatever, plays for Minnesota, whatever. But the fact that they made it, it's all good. It's good to see Ingram be in the playoffs and actually kind of ball out. I think he's averaging like 24. Yeah, he's balling. So I mean that's good to see. It's good to see.
So what you're basically saying is that they were better together on the Lakers.
No. That's definitely not what I'm saying. No, that's definitely not what I'm saying.
Split up, they're having troubles.
No.
I mean, anyways, the only thing I'll say, we both agree on McCollum. I think a lot of people don't realize just how talented that guy is because he was kind of in the Dame shadow, and it was always, they were very good together. But he's a really talented basketball player, and they play well from they complement each other from a stylistic standpoint.
Yep. And so moving on to that, I mean, this series, I'm not gonna lie, is surprising me. Dallas and Utah. Now haven't watched much,
everybody,
but I've watched enough, and something isn't right with Utah. I think they're gonna lose. Dallas is actually favored in Utah next game, and you know what? I know we both picked Utah. I think Dallas is gonna win. I just think that there's something wrong in Utah, and I think at the end of this season, somebody's gonna have to go, whether it's Mitchell or Gobert or the coach. Somebody's gonna have to leave because something isn't right. Utah to me seems like overall the better or more talented team, but they're struggling on offense and they can't stop Dallas on defense. And then when Luka came back, it seems like Dallas is, of course, they're a better team with Luka, but it's like Utah's having more trouble. So what do you think about this series, Brian?
I agree with you 100%. So look, it's not a really great secret that Gobert and Mitchell don't like each other.
Right.
That's been going on for 2 seasons now, and it started getting some more traction when Gobert opened his mouth and then ended up being the guy who shut down the NBA because of COVID.
Right. Exactly. Yep.
Going around licking crap. But anyways, there's definitely a chemistry issue there. And the problem that Utah has as an organization is that they've got 2 supremely talented people in Gobert and Mitchell. And they have to make a decision. It's not the same, but it's their version of Shaq and Kobe, and they have to make a choice between Kobe and their big man and Gobert. I personally think that that's the easiest decision in the world. You take Mitchell, who is a charismatic player who knows how to play the game and doesn't embarrass the team when he goes and gets in front of it. So like I think that's an easy decision, and you'll be able to get a truckload of picks, assets, players from anyone for Gobert because he stays relatively healthy. He's a defending defensive player of the year, and it's not that he's not a great basketball player. It's just that he's not the kind of personality that fits well anywhere, but most certainly on Utah. And then Dallas is getting healthy. Luka's a little less banged up, and he's now back. And I'm not a big fan of the Dallas team,
Right.
but I think that I feel like Luka is the only thing in town. But the friction that's going on in Utah offsets that, right? So you have more talent on the Utah team,
Right?
but they're smacking each other around and offsetting each other. So having only one talented person in Dallas is enough to give them a puncher's chance. I could easily see it, and they are the 4th seed, so it's not like it's going to be a surprise or an upset. I can easily see it going that way.
Yeah,
but
and plus this ain't the 80s. You don't build around the big man no more. So you want to take the talented guard. Definitely.
Yeah, you build around swing players,
right?
You power forwards, small forwards,
right.
and shooting guards.
Yep. Okay. All right. So moving on. Let's start with this series. Since it just ended, it'll be probably pretty quick. Golden State and Denver. I really don't have much to say on this. I mean, Golden State was the better team. Denver was missing Jamal Murray, and Denver, like I said, Denver's like the Tennessee Titans. They'll make the playoffs, but never a threat to actually, win the championship. So
they got close a couple years ago. Jordan Poole's the whole talk of this series anyway.
Yeah, well, yeah, and Denver's
coming out party for sure.
Oh yeah, and Denver got close too, and I said people are gonna know who Jordan Poole is in the next series too. Once we talk about that, but yeah, B, you got any thoughts on this? That the Warriors just wrapped this up?
I think we talked a little bit about this a couple of weeks ago when we were giving our predictions. The Golden State Warriors have come together and gelled as a team at the perfect time.
Yep.
And injuries stopped that from happening prior to the season end. But because of the things that you were saying, how it's a selfless team that really likes to play basketball, plays basketball the right way, it was easier for them to go into the playoffs and try and figure these things out early on than a team like Brooklyn, who has personalities that need some melding. And those guys really hadn't played together at all. Right. Whereas Steph and Draymond and Clay have played together, and Poole, they're the kind of team that can bring in an outside talent. They've done it with KD. I'm not saying it's KD, but they've done it before, where they brought in a talented player and assimilated them quickly. They knew how to share the ball, and they hit the ground in the playoffs running. It's been fun to watch. I mean, I watched the Boston and the Brooklyn series because I thought it was going to be the most competitive, but watching the Golden State Warriors play has been the best demonstration of good basketball in the playoffs so far. Boston's pretty damn good to watch though too. But yeah, and in this series, I think you got to hit the nail on the head with what Denver is. They are a solid team that is not really built to go much further. They've also had their fair share of injuries. I mean, not having Jamal Murray, not having Michael Porter Jr. These are really talented players that just, in Murray's case, he's not injury prone, and it really kind of just got unlucky, and it's a long injury to come back from Achilles. But and Michael Porter Jr. He's too injury prone to get that talent out of him. And when the Nuggets drafted him, they knew that they were taking a chance. And I think that chance actually paid off because he's supremely talented. But if they can't get a full year out of him. So the ceiling is limited for that team.
Yeah. Okay. And then go Lowen, I'll let you start on this one. Going in Minnesota and Memphis, it is 3-2. Memphis. What's your thoughts on this series? Crazy.
It is crazy. It is crazy, but I feel like we talked about this. I think we both picked Memphis. I know I ultimately did.
Yep.
But I thought it would be interesting, and I think Minnesota is a good young core. Anthony Edwards, and we talked about this, I think, last week. Anthony Edwards is an X factor that early. I happened to have been sitting in a car dealership yesterday when this game was going on, and I'm watching ESPN do the line-by-line updates. And when I saw that Anthony Edwards hit the tying for the three, I'm like, we're going to overtime. This is amazing. And Anthony Edwards has done it, and he was the guy with Cat and with Russell. He was the guy that they went to tie that game up. And then John Morant. I don't know what kind of defense that was that they were playing. Where you let John Morant get the ball and immediately cut to the basket with nobody else to be anywhere near. But anyways, that's what ultimately cost them. So this could very easily have been 3-2. This was 3-2 the other direction. Instead, it's 3-2 Memphis. So I don't think Minnesota is out of it. But at the same time, I wouldn't predict them to win it. I just think this is an interesting series. I think Minnesota is building. I'm not going to say a dynasty. They're building a very competitive team for the next few years.
Okay. So I watched Brooklyn Boston the most. I watched this series the second most. I watched a lot of this series.
It's a good matchup.
Memphis is struggling with Minnesota. I don't think Minnesota is a good team. They're talented. They just make too many dumb mistakes. They don't play smart basketball. They had two.
They play young basketball.
Yeah, they had big leads, and then they gave them up in 2 games. This series could be over. And their problem is they don't have a point guard. They need a leader on that team. They need somebody to lead those guys. And I'm not sure if Cat,
Chris Paul type.
Yeah, like right. They need Chris Paul, right? I mean, and Russell, he helped get them there. Don't get me wrong. They were a 7th seed, but he's not a leader. And that was the knock on him when he was with the Lakers too. And they need a leader, somebody to get the other guys in line, because in crucial moments of the game, that team blows big leads and then they make dumb mistakes. They are talented, though. I think they're more talented overall than Memphis. Memphis, though, what's crazy is they're 19-2 without John Morant. Like, John Morant is off the floor, and they're still getting buckets. That's one of the reasons why I picked Memphis to win this series. But I wouldn't be shocked if Minnesota took this to 7 games. But I would be shocked, though, if Minnesota actually won the last 2 games and actually won this series. But what I've noticed, though, is Minnesota does have talent. They just need somebody to kind of get those guys to play smarter basketball in order to be able to be competitive or actually win a playoff series, because they don't really play smart basketball, but they do have some talent. I will admit that. But other than that, though, it's been a fun series to watch. And like I said, I've watched every game in this series, every game.
Anthony Edwards impress you?
I see talent. I see something there. I do see something there. Now, whether he builds on it, that remains to be seen, but there's definitely something there. Definitely, there's talent there. Definitely. So
yeah. So John Moran, I think we were talking about it a couple weeks ago. He's not one of those guys who truly impresses me. Obviously, another talented guy. If he didn't have the boosties that Westbrook had when he first came into the career, came into the league, are we talking about him like we're talking about other guys?
No, I mean, and then people were talking about he's MVP. I'm like, whoa, slow down, slow down. I mean, I get it. He's a good player. He's exciting to watch. That doesn't mean MVP. When your team is 19-2 without you, you're not an MVP. I'm sorry. That's 19. There's no difference when you're off the court. Matter of fact, their offensive efficiency is better when he's not playing. And there was one game in the series, he was on the bench for a while. He wasn't playing well. I think it was game 5 or something for him. Go ahead.
Let me ask you a question. There's an expansion draft, and here are 3 players that you have to pick one of. Okay. John Morant, Trae Young, Jordan Poole.
Oh, I'm taking Poole all day.
Yeah, everybody is.
Oh, I'm taking Poole all day because Poole can shoot.
Not everybody. I wholeheartedly agree with the decision. I think all 3 of us are on the same page. But you ask anybody who, Trae Young and John Morant are considered NBA superstars.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, they are. Depends on what you're saying too. Like when you say, are we building a team? What are we trying to create? Am I adding a good solid piece, or because I might take one of them guys depending on where my franchise is and what that could mean for etc.
Expansion draft. You're starting a new franchise, right? Yeah. So but I would take Poole because he's a guy that can fit with 10 other guys.
Right, exactly. That's why I would take him.
And Trae Young, you need to find guys who fit with them,
Right.
as opposed, and it's just how you build the team. You build it from the center out. And the center out, I mean one player, and you find people to go with that one player.
Yeah.
Or you start
that's
picking
also
great players and figure out how to make them work.
sure.
So
I agree
Glenn,
with that.
so Glenn,
Also
look at like
assuming
this. Look at like this, Glenn. You think that Ja Moran or Trae Young could fit in with Steph Curry and Klay Thompson? How?
Yeah, it'd be tough
Yeah, exactly. Because they need to just
because they need the
chuck
ball.
up shots. Yeah, exactly. Jordan Poole, he's working with those guys, man, and it's just like
Maybe I don't know. It's tough. Yeah, that's a good point. But I also haven't seen because Jordan Poole wasn't starting during the year, right?
Right.
Or was he? So
At times.
Yeah, times. Yeah.
So it'd be interesting to see because
started
you're
to
talking about
grow.
starting your franchise with now you're meaning he's the guy, and there is something to be said about
wasn't
being
talking
the
about-
guy.
Well,
I
he
wasn't
doesn't have to
talking
be the
about
main
starting-
guy.
I just gave you three guys to
I mean, you
choose
said
from.
yeah,
If I
expansion
give you
draft, right?
everybody,
This is
Yeah.
my team. Yeah, I see
If
what you're
I
saying.
give you
But out of those
everybody,
three,
you're probably not picking Poole before you're picking any
Yeah.
number of these other players.
Yeah.
I'm just saying out of
But
those three
out
guys.
of those three
because
guys,
two of them are considered NBA superstars.
Right.
And Jordan Poole is considered an up-and-comer.
yeah, he is.
Unequivocally, I would take Jordan Poole right now, as he is right now, over either of those players to
Yeah,
have.
he's been playing well.
Yeah. So Glenn, look at it like this. It's also hard. It's very. Those kind of players don't win titles. They're so small and chuck up the ball a lot. But it was very hard to build a championship team around Jordan and build it around Kobe because you have to find guys that complement them because they're not really going to complement people like that.
Yeah, they're not deferring.
Exactly. You got to find the right group
Never.
of guys, and that's sort of why it takes a lot longer. Whereas if you have like a guy like Magic, all you got to do is just fill in around him. You got to get the right guys when you get Kobe and Jordan. Now, thankfully, of course, Kobe's a Laker. We found the right guys for him to win titles with, but it's hard to do. And with the Trae Young, just think them and Ja Morant, they're much smaller. They're not 6'5", they're not 6'6". They can't get any shot they want when they want. They don't go to the rack like that all the time. They chuck up a lot of shots, field goal percentage, whatever. It's just hard. And so Jordan Poole seems to play under control and knows his game, doesn't make too many bad decisions. And when you play with Curry and Klay and Draymond, you really can't do that.
Yeah.
So let me
I
add
think
one
he
thing.
benefits too from the system, right? And
He
being
does.
around those guys too.
He does.
You benefit a lot from that.
You're learning.
Yeah, all of them developed, but I'll add one more player in there just real quick. Add Luka, and the reason why I say that is I'd still stay with Poole, and the point being that these brash young point guards who are so ball dominant, they're not the guys who are going to win championships. I think we all think that Jordan Poole on the Golden State Warriors or whatever team could win a championship before Luka, Trae, or Ja.
Yeah, definitely.
But he's also, but none of them are benefiting from having two of the best shooters ever in the game on their team.
No. Take a different team. I'm saying those players are not going to win.
Yeah, you're going type of player.
Yeah.
And
because I don't see those guys play. Jordan Poole can play on and off the ball. I don't see those other guys. Trae Young, I don't see him playing. Russell Westbrook try to play off the ball. It's just hard. They can't do it. It's
That's a good point.
It's a different game playing off the ball. You know what I'm saying? And even though
hypothetical.
Even though a guy like Dame doesn't do it, I think a guy like Dame could possibly play off the ball. So I don't know. That's hypothetical.
So many players.
If he ever had the chance.
Right. Right.
So many players. So when we were watching, I'm going to do a flashback to the way back. When we were watching the NCAA tournament and we were watching Adam Morrison and Jason, I remember you and I and Derek were talking about that. And we all were like, there's no way Adam Morrison can play pro ball. It's not that he can't play or he can't shoot. It's that there is no team in the NBA that is going to focus their offense around getting him the ball as he's running around the courts and all of that stuff. And sure enough, that happened. And even though he outscored JJ Redick that year, JJ Redick, you could always say, well, yeah, but JJ Redick, you can post him up in a corner and he's going to chuck. And that's something you can have in the NBA. And that's just how that's worked out. It's just hard for all of these really talented players. You can be super talented, but you can't get the focus.
Morrison did get a ring, though.
Oh, he got the ring. So did Mark Madsen. So did Mark Madsen.
Mark Madsen got one, too.
Yeah.
I think that
I think the janitor on the team also gets a ring. So
actually, everybody in the front office. So
everybody. Yep, everybody in the organization. That's right.
Got you. Word. It's been a good. I think it's been a good playoff series. A good playoff run. There's actually been some good games. I've been pretty excited. We had some really good endings. So
yeah. Oh, I got to say one last thing, man. I hate this word. I don't think I ever talked to you guys. I hate the word super team. I hate that because in the NBA, what is wrong with playing with other talented guys? We grew up watching our teams have talented guys. I don't understand why it's a big deal when other talented guys want to play with other talented guys. That's
It
how you
seemed
win in this league. I
it
don't get
seemed it
it.
only came when players started doing it though. Like
Right, right,
when players
right,
took free agency upon themselves, which I have
right.
no problem with. Like it's
I
your
don't have no
career,
problem with
do whatever
either.
you want, bro. Like
Exactly.
if you could win 12 championships, oh well, then y'all gotta beat
Right,
them. Like what y'all
right,
mean? But
right.
it didn't start to your point until
Kevin
the
Garnett. Kevin
Celtics did
Garnett
it.
was the first one.
Yeah, when the
Kevin
Celtics did it.
Garnett. Yep. Kevin
It's a
Garnett and Ray Allen arranged to play with Paul Pierce and Buff. That was the
perennial,
first super
yeah,
team. Yep.
perennial all stars go to one team and
Yep.
they decide they kind of create their own
Right.
destiny, which is
And they
interesting too, right?
yeah,
We can have this conversation about ownership versus player
right.
advocacy as soon as the players do it.
It's a
But
problem.
also
Yeah.
it's funny because fans did the super team thing. It wasn't the
Right.
owners. So it's
Right.
interesting. It's
Right.
just
Yeah. When the owners draft a team
interesting.
like the Bulls, then it's all good. You can have a super
That's what
team.
the
But when
Warriors are.
yeah, right. And the Warriors, same thing. Yeah. But as soon as you try to do it yourself, everybody has a problem. But anyway, I'm done
My
with that.
fans. No, that's real.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
down to have that conversation. That's interesting too, because everybody's always about advocacy and taking control of your career. But
Yep.
then when you do it, it was fans who did it. It wasn't fans and commentators who I consider them fans too. You're paid
Yeah.
for it, but you don't play. Wasn't ownership. I didn't see ownership saying no super teams. But anyway,
Right.
good point. So the next one is Naasir Cunningham, and this is really interesting. Brian, you were mentioning this. The young man is what he's foregoing. He's gonna go play pro ball, but not take a salary to keep his NC2A eligibility intact.
Yeah, so this is
Or like,
different. It's
yeah,
it's it's a little bit. So there's this thing called the Overtime Elite Academy, and they have registered themselves as a school, but it's they have academic mentors. They don't have traditional classes, right? A homeschool kind of type of situation, and then they play league ball, and you can get paid, but he's foregoing a salary to maintain his college eligibility, and this to me, Jason and Glenn, this is where AAU is about to go, because these kids are not really participating in school. I think that's dangerous because most of these kids are not going to be able to go and be elite pros, but they're not really participating in schools. They're spending most of the time in AAU ball and with the actual high schools, and now they're just changing the AAU team into an academy so that they don't have to sit there and divide time between AAU practice and high school team practice. But it's only got 3 teams, and then they play kind of a format there, and it's considered a new what do they call themselves? An exciting new professional, a transformative new sports league is the tagline for the Overtime Elite League. Anyways, and they go out and they play a whole bunch of other schools and run up their stats. One of the teams was 20-3. The other team was 19-4. The last team was 17-6. Obviously, you don't get that by only playing each other. And Naasir Cunningham, who's the number 1 prospect for next year's class in college, the 2024 freshman class, 23-24 freshman class in college, has decided to go there, and it's a big deal because it's not a 200 prospect or someone who's on the bottom of the ESPN 100. It's the guy who's the number 1 who's decided to go and do this, and I think there's a lot I want to say. This is less about the organization that they're creating. This is dangerous, in my opinion. I mean, this is really scary. We're going to see a point where we're professionalizing high school level sports. I have no problem with the NIL. I actually think it's wonderful for these folks to be able to make money off their likeness and all of that kind of be able to support themselves and all that kind of stuff. I don't have any problem with that. But when you dissolve high school so that kids are no longer even thinking about going to class, and calling it a professional sports league, where they then go from the professional sports league into a year of college basketball, I feel like you go into a really dark place where the least important thing is the kids.
Yeah.
And we talk about college kids being kids, and now we're going to talk about 14 and 15-year-olds who are going to be that talented playing professional sports, and going to fake school, while they spend most of their time in 3-a-day practices getting ready for their AAU style basketball game, which Jason will tell you means there's no defense.
Yeah.
And then these kids are going to wonder why 5 years later they're not in the pros.
I feel
Yeah.
like
They're
they
in
do that.
Europe.
I feel like they do this in Europe and like with soccer though.
They do with basketball too, but there's a lot
Yeah.
of that professionalizing. And here's the thing:
Yeah.
they do all of that, and we've got Luca, and
Yeah.
we get so many. Giannis, you get
In our
such,
league, yeah. But I'm wondering
Yeah.
about how many of them guys go Europe wide and end up making a. Because really, if you can make 30 grand, 50 grand, 60 grand a year hooping, isn't it? I mean, if that's what you want to do is hoop and you can make what I make, but playing basketball isn't that, haven't you
bro. If you made
achieved?
$30,000 a year, you don't. But that's not what you were trying to do with your life. These kids don't go and do all of that thinking they're going to make $30,000.
Yeah.
They
I
go
mean,
there
or
thinking they're going to make
50 or,
30 million, 50,
whatever the basic
60,
average
100.
is. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah. And those teams, they pay you a stipend, and it's not a lot for national players. The NBA players get all the money, but they also do pay room and board, and it's not, great, but you live in. But that's not what they're working their whole life with that dream, and they're being told they're going to make 30 million, not 30,000.
Yeah, to be in the league. Yeah.
Man, AAU is it's just, man, you have no idea how many games I ref, and guys are, and not guys, but these boys are ineligible to play for their high school, but they play for AAU because they don't have grades. You know what I mean? So it's just like, it's just crazy. Like, class is just not really a big thing. And so I agree with Brian, man. You're going to a dark place when these guys are 14 and 15. You're gonna call them professionals, and now school is just completely out the door because a lot of them don't care about school at all. And these people who prey on AAU players, trying to either get them on their team or get them signed to go to a specific school or whatever, they really don't care about the child and their education as well. All they see is a way to make money off of them. So, I guess we'll have to see where this goes. But anytime you take education out, it's pretty much like the state of California, always taking money out of education, man. And everybody thinks it's supposed to be a great thing, and it's not always a good thing. So I don't know. It's not, now I'm saying not always a good thing. It's just not a good thing to take away from education, period.
Kind of sounds like this is another option for parents that are already doing this to take it another route. Because what you guys are saying is that there's, from what you're saying, Coop, it's that this is already happening in a lot of capacities. There's just this specific league is being created to do that. But there's
Right.
players now who are not eligible for their high school teams, whose parents, whoever, guardians are still letting them play. I go to the parents because they're underage. So
Right.
they're not making the decision on their own. Your parent has to be involved. So if you're gonna let your son sign up or your daughter sign up for this other league, then you're consenting to this. If you're not gonna have them do the schooling, then what you're signing them up for theoretically, and then how their life turns out is who's to say.
Yeah, some of these kids try to transfer to other schools, but their grade, they don't understand their grades still apply. So it's like they can't play at that new school, high school.
You can look at what happened with the Ball brothers when they basically became ineligible and they started playing semi-pro ball and all over the world and all that kind of stuff. And that was the beginnings of where this league came from. If you look into it.
And it worked for them because of the talent and because their dad kept them at the forefront.
It worked 50% of them. There's a brother. The other brother in that situation is he's on the sidelines.
More than 50. Right. 2 out of 3.
No. Two of them went to Lithuania. Lonzo went to UCLA. Remember?
UCLA went to UCLA and it was traditional.
Right.
Only the 2 went to Lithuania, and then one went to Australia.
I got you.
But there were other guys that were part of all of that, and they were also going to Australia and other places. They didn't go to Lithuania. And whoever created this league was like, hey, we're going to take this model that we're starting to do for college players, these kids who are not eligible. We're going to put them in these semi-pro leagues, and we're going to take that and we're going to apply it to high school. That's a lot.
Yeah.
We'll see how it goes, but it seems like a lot. Oh, good luck to the young man. That's all I could say, because it ain't.
They'll need it.
Yeah.
Man, that's okay. Interesting. I'm gonna have to definitely follow this.
Put something in your head so you'll have something in your pocket, but
I heard
We'll
that.
see what happens. Yeah, we'll see.
You Shaq, you need degrees before you can see his money. That's what he tells his kids.
Yeah,
Oh,
I heard that.
man. Yeah.
Nah, that's deep. Yeah. So, I mean, speaking of, we're talking about kids becoming pros and young men going to the pros. NFL draft starts tomorrow. So,
Yeah. I mean,
yeah, man.
I mean, you got. Let me start first because y'all got first round picks. I
I
don't.
do not. I
But
do not. My first round pick is
oh, you
Devontae
don't.
Adams.
Oh, okay, okay. You did not. Okay, yeah, you're right.
We
You're
That's just
right.
do.
true. Yeah.
Um,
I said my like I own some stake in the team too.
yeah,
It's
but
beyond jerseys.
usually I wouldn't say excited. I would say I'm interested in the NFL draft. Usually every single year I'm interested. This year I'm not really interested. It's just it's somebody's going to end
Could it
up
have
being
something to do with not having a first round draft pick for
no,
your
no, no,
team?
that's not it. It's just the players. It's just like, you know, I mean, we'll get into who we like or don't like later. I don't know who I don't like because everybody's sort of, I guess it depends on where they go. Usually I have a super bust, a Zach Wilson, a Baker Mayfield,
Damn.
a Justin, a
Damn.
Justin Fields. This guy's not gonna be good. I usually tell you I don't have that this year because I don't know. It might be okay. I mean, who knows? But this draft seems like to me it's more for depth. If you're trying to find a star, this isn't the draft. You want to find a quarterback, this ain't it.
Sure.
A top wide receiver, this ain't it. You know what I'm saying? You can find 25 wide receivers in this draft. You can draft them all over the draft. You want to find a pass rusher, you can find them all over the draft. Who knows which one is going to be really, really good. But I don't really have a big interest in this draft. So I'm going to watch maybe a little bit of it. But Brian, what's your thoughts on this draft?
So I agree with you. It doesn't have the kind of star power that other drafts had,
Yeah.
but a lot of that has to do with the league didn't, and this is the first time that they haven't, manufacture hype around quarterbacks who are not ready and deserving of the hype.
Yeah.
Right? There's so many different times where they'll have a Trevor Lawrence, and that's the obvious one. And then after the camps, they come out and go, "But what about this other guy? What about the other guy from the small school? Could he possibly be better than Trevor Lawrence?" No.
Carson Wentz.
Yeah.
Exactly. Right.
Yeah.
And they have these guys. So, but what you do have, there's lots of talent in this draft. It's just at positions that are not quarterback. And for whatever reason, I don't know why, they didn't do their usual hype machine around. And that's because they didn't have anybody, right? Like the Detroit Lions are very likely to pick a quarterback with the number 2 pick, not the number 1, because they don't have the number 1. And I would challenge most of my friends who are sports savvy and most common fans to know anything about Malik Willis.
Well, I can tell you about him.
Yeah, I know a little bit. Yeah.
He went to Liberty?
He went to Heat. Yeah. So I can tell you about him. So Malik Willis,
in the pro day.
He's going to be overdrafted in the first round. He's not a first. But see, he's not a first round talent. He needs 2 years on the bench like McNair, like Steve McNair. I like Steve McNair as a quarterback. He needs 2 years at least.
2 years on the bench.
Yeah, I know, but you can't do that
Not
anymore.
in the first round. Yeah.
Right. You can't do that anymore.
Late.
But Jeff Fisher drafted Steve McNair in the first round and sat him for 2 years, and it worked out. Malik Willis, first of all, when pressure comes, this guy takes off and run. That's why he ran for 1,400 yards last year. He sees pressure, he's out. Okay, he has something there is very raw, but it's going to take a couple years to bring that out, and I would not put him on the field. I said that about
the Lions. He
went
see pressure.
to Liberty.
Right. I think he played against 1 or 2 Power 5 schools. He went to Liberty. He ran I told you guys before in another podcast, he ran a very basic offense where he wasn't asked to do anything NFL-ish. So he's going to have to learn how to play in the NFL. And all these guys talk about, we're going to get Malik Willis because he has a strong arm. He's had a strong arm for 2 years. Everybody knows he has a cannon. That's not going to get you past. Jamarcus Russell had a cannon. Kyle Bowler had a cannon. That doesn't mean Jeff George had a cannon.
You didn't have to do that.
You
didn't have to do that.
I forgot 2 of them were Raider fan. My bad.
All 3 of them. You didn't have to do that.
Oh, word? Oh, my bad.
You didn't have to do that.
But to my point, Malik Willis is the quarterback who's got the most hype this year.
Right.
He's going to go number 2.
Right.
And he went to Liberty. And I think that's part of the reason why. I really don't know the full reason why they didn't do their usual hype around which quarterback was going to go where and everything else. Because they would be fooling themselves to believe that they can get out of it. But there's a lot of talent there. The defensive end, Aiden Hutchinson and Kayvon, what's his name? Thibodeau from Oregon. These are some really talented players. Nobody gets excited about offensive tackles and drafting them, but everybody wants them on their team once they blow up. And they have the Giants going there. And then there's a lot of corners. I know that part because that's the part I'm following because of the Vikings. But go ahead, you're about to make a point.
Yeah. So you know what I noticed, Brian? I'm not a big mock draft guy. I think they're stupid, but I do like to see who people think are going in the first round. And this is the first time I can remember in a long time, Brian. Like I've seen some mock drafts with Malik Willis going in the first round. I've seen another one where they have him going in the second. I've seen guys, it's like usually guys are going like anywhere 5 to 12 or, 20 to 28 or something like that. There's people who are in first rounds in some mock drafts that's not even going in the first round draft. Or some people have like, one guy going, maybe I forgot who he was, number 4. And then another, Kenny, I think it's Pickett, the quarterback, Pickett from Pittsburgh. Somebody has him going high, and then somebody else has him going like 23rd or 24th or something like that. So it's like a real big disparity as to where people thinking, these guys are going to get drafted. So I don't think really anybody really knows. So, but I agree with you. There is some talent. I don't think it's really star talent, but there is some talent that can help teams out there. And I think that's a reason why a lot of these teams are rumored to want to trade back. Because if you have the number 4 pick, it's like, do you really have a guy who you really think is the 4th best person in this draft? You know what I mean? So I don't know. We'll see what happens.
Yeah. I think there's star power in it, but I think it's at positions that people don't create stars. Safeties, offensive tackles, offensive linemen, linebackers. It's not wide receiver because I think Drake London from USC is generally considered a top wide receiver that's going to be out there. I don't even think I've heard of a running back who might get drafted in the first round.
Yeah.
And I agree with I've seen the same thing that you've seen, which is that outside of one quarterback going in the first round, which is Malik Willis or Pickett or whatever, that's it for the first round. And usually there's 2 or 3 that there's bantering around. So you can get a lot of talent in this draft. If you're a team, you love this.
Yeah.
Because you can draft someone equally talented. And I still think that they're very talented, star power talented in the second and third rounds, because people are not going to be able to hype them up, and they're not going to have people who are shooting around. We haven't seen the NFL hype machine, which does an excellent job of creating hype year round. We haven't seen them do what they usually do with the draft. I'm not seeing the who's next type stuff. I'm not seeing the crazy coverage of the combine, and we're not seeing nonstop Kuiper on there saying what you really need to see is this one kid with his amazing arm, or he catches everything, or running backs, because those are the positions that they can hype, right? It's running back, wide receiver, and quarterback.
Yep.
It's hard to hype, a guy named like Sauce Gardner, where he's got a big name, or Derek Stingley. Those are 2 guys that the Vikings are obviously supposed to be considering. It's hard to hype corners because their claim to fame is no one scored or catches a ball around them.
Yeah.
Their claim to fame and why they're so talented is nothing happens on my side of the field.
So
There's
GB,
no video.
Right, exactly. Not right. No film to break down. GB, question. Actually, Brian too, but GB first because this is your guy. Waller, percent chance he's traded.
One, you can't never say 0, right? You can't. I learned better than that. You never say 0, but I'm hoping that is low because he's under contract, right? It's a very team friendly contract right now. I think he's like 7 this year and like 6.8 this year and like 7 next year, something like that.
Right.
Now, if I'm the Raiders, I'm saying, Waller, you're already seeing what we're doing. People are getting money around here. We're doing this. Play the year. We going, the cap's gonna free up a little bit next year because we have these contracts falling off, and then you sign him that year. If I'm Waller, I'd probably, you hang around for a little bit. Now he's not getting his money like he should. He's also coming off, he got injured for a lot of last season. So, it's honestly, it's probably kind of close to a Debo situation almost in that regard, in that they're coming off, they've had great seasons recently, but you've also had a lot of injuries. So I don't think so. I think you keep him, but I don't know.
I'll go big. I'll go 0.
Okay.
3 hours ago, he was on CBS and said he spent all day talking to the team, and the team promised him there's absolutely no trade to the Packers or any other team coming tomorrow in the draft.
It doesn't.
I know that doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
Well, it means something to me because it's the day before the draft, and what teams always do when they're going to actually do this is they go radio silent, and instead everyone's hopping on a radio. They had a GM from not the GM, a front office person do an anonymous thing saying, nope, there's nothing really going there. That's Packers wishful
Yeah, I hope
thinking,
not.
and then Waller came out went on a radio interview the night before, which he didn't need to do, to say, hey, I've been talks. So I'll say I think that's
Yeah,
I
I
think
think it's
that's the
smoke.
hype.
Yeah, it's smoke.
Okay.
Um,
Okay, so I didn't know he said that, Brian, but even before he said that, I said it's zero because it doesn't make any sense. Josh
It doesn't make
McDaniels,
any
the
sense.
coach of the Vegas Raiders. So first thing I want to know, who put this
Cheap.
story out? Yeah, he's cheap. He's a top 3 tight end in the league. He's cheap, and McDaniels knows the value of tight ends because he had Gronk and Aaron Hernandez both in the same team, killing it. And so I did a little research. That first story was first reported by Cheesehead TV. That doesn't belong to the Raiders. That belongs to Green Bay, which means Green Bay leaked that story. So,
Wishful thinking.
and they
Wow.
wanted, and so I looked at a little more history. When they traded Devontae Adams, they asked the Raiders for Waller, and the Raiders said no, and they still traded
and
Devontae
it
Adams because
was
Devontae wanted to leave.
yeah, it was
So,
against league rules too because he's
oh
franchise.
really? Okay, so
Devontae
basically
was.
that's just Green Bay publicly trying to convince their fans and Aaron Rodgers that they're doing everything they can to
Sure.
bring pass catchers to the team because all they got is old Sammy Watkins and Randall Cobb and somebody the Dukes of Hazard. I forgot Hazard, I think his last name, and
I love it.
Amari Rodgers or something like that. That's their receiver.
Love it.
So Green Bay needs
And
pass catchers.
and one more thing, going back to I really think this is an important thing.
Yep.
He's cheap. He's
Yes.
the 13th highest paid tight end in the league next year.
Yep.
13th behind Nick Boyle.
That's what I'm saying. He's and
Tyler,
he's under contract for 2 years. But the issue is and that's what they're saying. If they're trying to get ahead of a contract dispute, I haven't seen Waller as that guy, especially now that this new regime is actually paying cats. Now, previously you might have had to think about it. They came in, they throwing that bag around. So it might make sense to do your thing because they doing
that's next season.
the Rams deals. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I don't see why the Raiders would want to trade. That doesn't make any sense. So
The whole point of that was to have him and Devontae and Renfro and
Right.
make this,
Right,
'cause
a
it's the
team.
AFC, bro. If you're gonna
Right.
have any chance to win, you better have some threat. So
right.
the other thing I was gonna throw in real quick was I was wondering, Brian, if this hype we're losing around the players for the draft, right? It's because I'm with you. I've seen, Mariucci did his version of Gruden's Grinders, and I saw all this, and that's cool, but it's just the hype isn't the same for me. I've seen all the stories on Malik Willis, Pickett, all these different players, and that's cool. But like you said, nobody's, Hutchinson, all these guys, but nobody's just like, oh my gosh, consensus number one, he's the man. But I'm also wondering if the hype I'm seeing also is around the draft itself in Las Vegas. So I'm wondering how much that is playing because all these stages they're building at the fountains of Bellagio, and we're doing a concert here, and we're having this and fan experience here, and shutting down the strip here, and I'm interested to see how much they make a spectacle of the draft itself.
Yeah, but they expect viewership in the millions for the draft, and that can impact 50, 60,000 who show up to go to the draft. So I don't think it's a different kind of hype. I don't know that I think they play parallel as opposed to in opposition to each other. Like I think you can absolutely hype the event being in Las Vegas as opposed to Indianapolis
or anywhere.
Right. But still put hype on the players. I mean, it's a really big deal. I know a lot of people who aren't watching this year, and I know that typically watch it. There's not a lot of, it's mostly people like you and I and who want to see who our team takes.
Yeah,
and y'all don't have picks and people who are dedicated to playing fantasy sports, and they get into that kind of stuff. It's not the casual fan, right? Even those guys are not watching it or excited about watching it this year because there just hasn't been enough. Who is Trevor Lawrence going to go number one?
Yeah.
Is the Jet team going to be able to trade up and get that superstar running back? Oh wait, there isn't one.
Right.
Drake London isn't exciting enough. He's very good.
Yeah.
But he isn't exciting enough to get people to wonder, is Washington going to get Drake London? Who cares? It's Washington.
I think this actually is great to your point because one, for sure, like you said, the fact that my team doesn't have a first round pick is definitely different. It's the first time in many years I didn't have a top 10 pick. So let's just start there, right? Secondarily, I think this is actually good to your point in that since we have later picks, not hyping guys up crazy, there may be a lot more value than your typical draft as, guys may slip.
Well, you got a guy, a new GM. You don't have guy from TV playing GM that's actually doing GM. Yeah. So, but I got one more question for you guys.
Holiday in.
Shit, I just thought about something. I gotta look at Mel Kiper and his hair. But anyway, Debo, you guys think he get traded tomorrow? Yes or no? GB.
I'm gonna say I don't say zero chance, but I'm gonna say like I kind of feel it's like the Waller situation. I say it's like 5%. They ain't about to trade Debo, bro. Lynch
What you
ain't about to
think?
trade him.
What you think, B?
I put it higher.
Mhm.
If I'm San Francisco, I'd trade him.
Okay.
Mm.
49ers in a
But
tough
I
spot.
don't know that there's
Huh?
another team that wants him, to be
Right.
honest
Oh
with you.
yeah.
Given
Okay.
all the things that he said, his
Yeah.
injury history, all the things we talked about last week.
Right.
I'm
They'll
not
take him.
giving
Somebody
up
overpay.
so much.
Yeah, somebody
Yeah.
overpay.
I think.
There are
And if they
always a
would,
yeah.
bye.
I feel you.
Yeah.
There's always a bottom team who
Yeah.
overpay. My team has done that many years.
Shit. He's in a 49ers in a tough spot. Kittle's always hurt. I can't justify paying a wide receiver 25, $30 million,
Yeah.
man. Debo's he was inconsistent at
Especially
wide
not one that's
receiver.
always hurt.
Right, and he was inconsistent at wide receiver, which is why they put him at running back. People are forgetting this. So I understand he doesn't want to play running back, but he was more consistent. We got a lot more out of him. I think it'll be easier if the guy we drafted a couple years ago, Brandon Ayuk, was a true number one, but he's not. He's really a number two. I know the Jaguars, Dolphins, and Raiders spend a lot of money on receivers. Well, Raiders, I can actually
Do you
justify
know
that.
who
I
the
can.
Do you know who
All
the
right.
most expensive
The
wide
Giants.
receiver?
The Giants have the most expensive. Yeah, I looked, and the Giants are terrible. I can. The
How is
Jaguars.
Kenny Galladay the most expensive wide receiver in
Exactly.
2022? Not
Exactly.
Devontae Adams,
Right.
not Cooper
Yeah.
Cup,
They
not
Right.
overpaid. They
not
overpaid a couple
DeAndre
years ago.
Hopkins.
Yeah, and the Rams are getting value on their receivers, and they're a better team. But you know, we saw this a few years ago when running backs got paid. Panthers with Christian McCaffrey, Jets with Le'Veon Bell, and then Dallas with Ezekiel Elliott. And I know those teams aren't happy with those contracts, but from what I read today, last thing I read today, that I think they said the sticking point is the guaranteed money. The 49ers want to give him 45 million, and Debo wants close to what Tyreek got, 70 million or so, close to 70.
And I feel him. Get your bread.
So ask me, he's gone tomorrow, man. I can't. It's too many receivers in this draft that can. I'm not saying one can replace him, but maybe two can. And I think if we get I'm not really big on picks, but if we get a first rounder, maybe another first round, the other or a second or a couple seconds, I would have to deal Debo, man, and just have to live with that and just build the team.
Especially if you're
Uh,
Shanahan, because I'm like, man, I'm Dame Dad. Like, we made you, bruh.
yeah,
The system did that.
I'd rather have three $8 million players than one $25 million receiver, man.
Yeah.
Seriously.
No,
And
it's
and,
true.
and and leading into that, there's one player I like in this draft, and it's probably going to surprise you guys because he's not really being talked about, and he was pretty much injured the last year. But I really like his skills, man, and that's George Pickens. He's the wide receiver from Georgia. I like him, and I think if he goes to a team that passes the ball, I think he's really going to probably break out in his rookie year. I'm not saying he's going to have a Justin Jefferson 1,400-yard season, but I think people are going to realize that that this guy can play. He reminds me a little bit of Nick Chubb, to where Nick Chubb played with Sony Michel in college, so Nick Chubb really didn't get a lot of hype going to the draft. And George Pickens plays for a running team in Georgia. They won the national title, but he plays for a running team and he got hurt.
Yeah.
But he's talented. George Pickens, he's just talented, man. And he came into Georgia as a freshman and led him in receiving. So I think he'll be a steal no matter where he's drafted. But
Okay.
I just had to throw that in.
I think you and I are on the same page as for what San Francisco should do. Like if they get an offer,
Yeah.
like if let's pick out a team, the Jets,
Right.
who have the 10th pick of the draft, say, hey, we'd rather have established Debo than use our 10th pick to take Garrett Wilson or Drake London Drake.
Mm-hmm.
Sure, and then you guys get that player at less money. It's a risk.
Yeah,
It's a top draft pick.
It's all a risk.
You don't have to pay $25 million for a guy who doesn't want to play where he's best at.
Yeah. So yeah. So we'll see. But I think he's gone. So
yeah, I hope he gets his money, man, because this often doesn't work, unfortunately. Like you often can get paid, but it's very rare that you end up with future success.
Yeah, I mean, and
especially
the Jets
right
will be
away.
perfect because that's not going to bite us in the ass. The Jets ain't going to do anything in the in the near future. So
AFC is ugly. That's where I would not try to go. But
yeah, so
word. All right, guys.
Mm-hmm.
That's I don't know. Sorry, Coop. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, I'm good.
All right, man. That's kind of what we want to talk about for the show. We're right about at our time. So I don't know. Last segment, man. Minute to win it. Your little rant situation. If either of y'all got some, go for it.
Go ahead, B. You want to start?
No, I was on my soapbox a little bit with the whole OTE and the what I see is some really dangerous ahead. I'm always a fan of of 18-year-old and older being able to go into the pros immediately when it comes to NBA. I don't think the one and done is necessary. I think you should be able to go into the pros if you're there. But I think that when you get into the 14, 15, 16, and 17-year-old professional sports leagues that are they call themselves transformative, I think that's a bunch of crap. And I think that's just dangerous. I don't necessarily think that there should be something that's necessarily done to stop it from a legal standpoint. Like, I don't think it's illegal, but I think it's wrong. And I think that I think people need to be very careful about what they're willing to support, because this is what it brings. If we were willing to support these, these other fly by night that last a half a year, support watching the Australian pro teams with 18-year-olds and 17-year-olds on it. If we support these things like the OTE, this is exactly what we're going to get. We're going to get more of them.
Okay. I'm gonna do mine, man. This is for Jerry West, man. Love Jerry West, Laker. Jerry West, we all know, doesn't like how he's being portrayed in the HBO
ugly
fictionalized, dramatized series. What's it called? Winning Time.
Yep.
And so Jerry West said recently he's willing to go to the Supreme Court about this. So I'm gonna have to tell Jerry to slow down, my man. I understand you don't like the way you're portrayed, but they've said many times it's fictionalized and it's dramatized. It's TV. Unfortunately, I get it. If I was being slandered or portrayed a bad way on TV, matter of fact, I kind of hope to be portrayed bad on TV. That means people know me and I'm making money.
Man.
But still, I get it. I mean, I would be offended. I mean, and people probably close to me will be offended as well. At the same time, you cannot sue and think you're going to win on something like this. Again, when they say repeatedly, it's fictionalized, it's based off a book. People, whenever you hear based on a true story about a movie, it doesn't mean every single event in the movie, the way it's happening, actually happened or happened in the order that they're showing you in the movie. It's based on a true story. So, Jerry, you're gonna have to get over it, my man. I understand you want them to get off your lawn, but going to the Supreme Court ain't gonna work, man.
Oh, that's a new level. I didn't even know about this. This person, I'm going to the highest level of snitch. Wow, I'm calling.
It takes 4 federal trials before you can get to a Supreme Court. Hopefully they've got something better to hear. But,
this guy said he didn't say give me the manager. He said give me the oh, I want to the top. Damn, Jerry. I didn't know about this, but that's cold.
The betrayal is definitely ugly. I think
it's terrible.
I tried to watch it.
I got one episode and it was terrible.
Yeah, I was like, damn, I'm mad at Jerry.
Yeah, I was cool.
Why are you so mean, Jerry?
Yeah, I couldn't do it.
I idolized the man as an executive.
Yeah, same. I couldn't.
Sports executive.
Yeah, I'm cool. It's funny though, because people were saying like by him doing this, he's actually being the character that they're portraying instead of chilling. But whatever. Jerry, hey, bro, I feel you. It is terrible, but damn, you can't
when
go
you get
to
to
the Supreme Court.
When you get to his place in life, and I'm sorry we're talking about this because it's supposed to be just kind of a minute and gone. But when you get to his point in life, that's a big deal, your legacy.
Yeah, right.
Sure.
It's like he doesn't get to see if people remember him in 10 years.
Sure.
In all likelihood. But he doesn't get to see in 10 years whether they remember him as the guy on that show,
right,
or for all the wonderful things that he's done for the Lakers and Golden State and Clippers.
Now I remember him as a dude who tried to call Supreme Court. He tried to call a mama.
He said he's going to take it all the way to the Supreme Court. That's what he said. I'm like, whoa, okay.
Jeez, okay, I didn't know that. But anyway, mine's real quick, man. Brittany Griner, definitely thinking about her. Seems like people are starting to kind of get released out of Russian prison. She's been in there with no kind of fanfare, just in there on the low, kind of stuck. I don't know what the conditions are like or what she's going through, but definitely thinking about her. Prayers up, hoping that she's out. How you feel about her personal, religious lifestyle, whatever. None of that matters. Like, she's in there for some BS and just over there for no reason. So hoping she's out quick. Elon Musk, go ahead and buy the Russian prisons and get her up out, bro. Thank y'all for listening. Sports Counterpoints podcast, April 27, 2022. And we will catch y'all next week. Holla.